Kyle, here goes your tires, buddy.
Video, Kyle?
Brand new ones.
You could have at least put the front ones on the back.
Moving right day and night.
And we're supposed to be powered by science.
That's very true.
We better be able to get two people on one train somehow.
Here it comes. Yep, that's it.
Because every time I'm in his office, he's sitting there and all of a sudden he just reaches like this and there's a piece of chicken in his hand.
I'm like, how much chicken is under your desk?
I overshot the R&D budget this week, so I'm going to need that $250.
Moving it right day and night.
Sommers as well.
That's right. He's standing right over there. He'll jump in a moment, and we'll ask him some questions and talk about a little bit of history.
Yeah. So be sure to put your comments below. We'll be monitoring Facebook. We'll also try to scoot over to YouTube as well quickly, since we know we might have a bigger audience than normal over there. And we'll try to answer those throughout the show. We'll also be doing our weekly drawing as well. This week's prize is Diesel Winter Rescue and a t-shirt. So the product we never want you to have to use.
You don't need diesel winter rescue unless you didn't put an anti-gel in, which happens. It's happened to me before too. Get out of tractor in the garage or something, and all of a sudden you got to start it and it's not running, and you look in and the fuel's getting thick. So we put some diesel winter rescue in, and that thaws it out, gets you running, and you're good to go.
Yeah, you can be your friend's hero on the side of the road.
That's right.
So.
It's always good to have a bottle on hand. You don't want to use it, but it's always good to have it.
Absolutely. So be sure to enter each week at hotshotsecret.com/giveaway, and we'll have a new prize up there shortly after the show as well. Today, we'd like to know where you are watching from. So comment below, tell us where you're watching from. Hit the bell to subscribe to know when we're going live. And yeah, as always, we're dual streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Be sure to like and share the video. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube.
So before we bring Steve on, do you want to do some of the dealer shout-outs and the housekeeping? And all
Yeah, let's do some of the housekeeping stuff. We'll bring Steve on.
What was that? Is your mic on? My mic's not working?
Should be. Let's try this. We'll see if that's working better.
Can you hear me now? If not, I can yell really loud so that you can hear me off of his.
So dealer shout-outs, we got two this week. First is Big Rig Parts in Winkler, Manitoba, Canada. Our second one is Albuck Industries in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. So I know these are some relatively new dealers. I think our guys in Nebraska came on a couple months ago. Good to have you guys on board, and be sure to send in your shout-outs to us each week. Send us some decals for the dealer wall as well. We'll get those up as well.
Going through there yet? You need Jake's help. He's standing over there. Maybe. Jake, why don't you come over here and see why my mic's not working? In the meantime, we use his mic. Yeah. So this weekend, we're going to be on Friday at 9 a.m. on Motor Trend Network on Two Guys Garage. And we're going to have Stiction Eliminator. They're going to be talking about that. Then on All Girls Garage on Saturday and Sunday, both 11:30 a.m. on Motor Trend. And they're going to be talking about our Shift Restore. Shift Restore is our transmission stiction eliminator that they renamed because they said I picked out a terrible name for it. So I said, okay, if you want to change the name, that's fine. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm an oil guy.
Right. And it's actually really unique about that product is it's not only fixes a problem, but also helps prevent the stiction from happening in the transmission.
That's correct.
So again, check it out this weekend, All Girls Garage and Two Guys Garage, both on Motor Trend Network. Also going on this week, most of you are used to Kyle being in the seat. He's actually gone this weekend. He's down at the USMC Racing event down at MRS Houston, supporting the USMC Racing Group. What that group does is actually puts out cars for veterans to go out and run. It's a really great organization, a way to get guys out and help them out. And
So they let the veterans run the cars.
Yeah.
Actually race.
they actually race. So these guys wrench all week and weeks in to get these cars ready. I know this time they have 5 cars, which is huge for them. They started out with 1 car. Last year at this time they had 2 cars at Houston. They're up to 5 cars now. So it really,
We were, I think, their first sponsor.
we were.
And they are the funnest group of guys that you'll ever hang around. They came up one time and, we were talking about how we can make all this work. And holy smokes, are they a blast. I mean, they were all vets and they were definitely enjoying what they're doing. So you should contact them if you need to be if you could be a sponsor or even just get involved if you're a vet and you want to race. That's the place to do it.
We also had a video we shared earlier this week on Facebook. If you go to our Facebook page, where we put a link up to donate to them as well. So even if you're not a business, but you just want to donate to them, be sure to reach out to that group. See that video on our page. You can donate right there as well.
USMC Racing.
Yes.
We might need a minute here for them to fix my sound because apparently it's not going through.
Let's look at the batteries real quick in there. I did change those quickly.
If not, I can use the microphone.
Okay, I think we got it fixed. Yeah. On-set talent and IT at the same time.
So remember to put your questions underneath, and we're going to have Steve Sommers on here now. Is there anything else you want to run over before we get
Real quick, we actually have just want to remind everyone we have a sale going on at Advance Auto Parts this week through the end of the year. It's $2 off 16-ounce squeeze bottles of EDT. So great deal there at the retailer. So take advantage of that.
What about Waypoint Vets?
Okay.
Tell them about Waypoint, because this is one of my best things that we've ever done.
So Waypoint Vets is ran by a veteran herself. She contacted us. We had some. She knew us through another marketing agency. Yeah, that's what I was trying to come up with. And she did over the last year, she biked across America to raise awareness for the suicide rate with veterans. And about 2 weeks ago, they finally had the first of her charity, which she calls Waypoint Vets. And they go out and they do recreational activities. They went to, I believe, Utah this time. And they did some mountain climbing and hiking and a bunch of just outdoor activities. So the way they're combating the suicide rate is to get vets out, get them involved.
My understanding is it's basically a retreat for vets to kind of unload, talk about what's bothering them, help to adjust a little bit better, make things work. Is that the way you get it?
Yes.
So Sarah Lee's her name. You can get to them through Facebook, and they've got Waypoint Vet, their website. But it's a great charity. I think they do a great job, and it's such a monumental thing to try to overcome. It's great that they're taking it one piece at a time.
Yeah, and they actually put together a minute video for us. So Levi, if you could cue up that video and let's let those guys look at that while I'll get off the air and we'll work on the sound as well for Chris.
The war inside is so different from the wars we were trained to win. Hi, I'm Sarah Lee, Army combat veteran, founder and executive director of Waypoint Vets. We facilitate opportunities of camaraderie, healing, and adventure to military veterans across America. An opportunity to detach from the world and connect with each other, feeling that physical and mental empowerment reminiscent of our service and training, gaining unique access to clarity and camaraderie. I don't know that there's any one answer to veterans' issues or our suicide rate. All I know is that I want to be part of the solution. I want my fellow veterans to understand that you deserve to be okay, and you are worthy of good things. It's not over for you, and it's never too late to reinvent your reality. The heartbeat of Waypoint Vets' mission is to honor our fallen by living and by taking back our health and happiness together.
Okay. So our lapel mics aren't working. The first time that's happened in 115 episodes. So Steve must have jinxed us.
Sorry.
That's right. We have Steve Sommers with us. He was with ATN. And, you know, Steve, normally when we bring people on, we ask them some really easy, basic questions just to kind of give everybody a feel for who you are, where you came from. So let me ask you, where were you born?
Cincinnati, Ohio,
Cincinnati. Have you been there your whole life?
with the exception of about 5 years.
Where was that?
That was Dalton, Ringgold, Georgia.
Ringgold, Georgia.
Yeah,
I go
because
through
my
there.
wife's from Ringgold. Yeah,
That's where the tomatoes are.
that's correct.
That's right.
Yes,
How
I worked in radio in Dalton, Georgia, for about 5 years down there. So.
Oh, wow. So you grew up in Cincinnati?
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. How'd you like Ringgold, by the way?
Still on the west side. I think Ringgold, little, humble town. Slow going, a lot slower than.
Cincinnati?
Yes. Laid back people.
But it's really warm down there.
Yeah, the pool stays open a lot later there.
I know. I drive there on my way to Florida. I always stop at Ringgold. It's a good place to be. So what was your first job?
Oh, I started off when I was 15 years old. So I'm going back about 40 years, somewhere in that vicinity. And it was kind of like babysitting at a Christian radio station in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
WAKW, which is still in existence today. I worked there for probably eight years or so, and
Nice.
kind
Very
of
cool.
rolled into weekends at a country music station.
So it was radio. You were.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
first job was radio.
Yeah.
That's all you've
It
done. Your
was.
whole life is radio.
I did spend like a year or two changing oil at a oil lube place, but I was working weekends on the radio at the same time. So
Wow.
yeah.
So you are like a lifelong radio professional.
That's what I'd like to think. That's about all I've ever done, Chris.
That's okay. That's cool, man. I think it's great. What was your first car?
Oh, AMC Hornet,
AMC Hornet.
a tank.
That
Yes.
is.
With the prop bar to hold the hatchback open.
What year was it?
That I don't recall.
Don't remember what year it was. I
It
remember
was-
the AMC.
It was
Hornet.
a hand-me-down from my stepdad's brothers, so.
Yeah.
But you got from point A to B.
AMC's not been around for.
Straight six.
Yep.
Yep.
Straight six. I remember the AMC Eagle.
Yeah.
They were the first four-wheel drive vehicles, I think, or the first time they became, popular to have four-wheel drives. How about sports? Did you play any sports growing up?
I played a lot of tennis.
Tennis?
As a youngster, yeah. Lots and lots of tennis.
You were a tennis guy.
And after tennis, never professional. I won a few tournaments when I was in high school, though.
So you were good.
Yeah,
you were really
I
into
like
it.
to think I was pretty good, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Tennis. So you must like it a lot. Do you ever play tennis now?
No.
No? You give up?
Tennis elbow. After I got out of tennis, I got into disc golf. And I've really put some wear and tear on my elbow over the years. So now I'm pretty much just lazy.
See, well, that's my excuse for not doing sports. See, I don't want to ruin my joints. So you're just helping me out there. How about your favorite hobby? Do you have any hobbies? You just work all the time.
Hobbies. Not really. I mean, I got into doing some model airplane stuff when I was younger. That was, building the balsam planes and all that.
Mm-hmm. But nothing today.
Nothing today, no.
How about holiday? What's your favorite holiday?
4th of July.
4th of July?
Yeah.
Because it's warm, sun shining. You can
Warm,
hang out.
sunshine, and fireworks. I've just always been a crazy about fireworks. So
Now, so those of you that don't know, Steve Sommers has been on 700 WLW running midnight to 5 a.m. for how many years?
Well, I started as a producer 1996, started doing weekends several years later, and then took over full-time in 2004.
So normally when I'm on Steve's program, he's interviewing me. So now
The tables are turned.
Yeah, the tables have turned. We're switching roles here, but this is normally Steve's gig. He's asking me questions and I'm answering them. So what about your favorite beverage?
Miller Lite.
Miller Lite?
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, well, you say whatever you want. We probably have some Miller Lite.
I've
over
kind
there
of
at the moment.
outgrown the milk,
Now Miller Lite's way better. Okay, what's your favorite TV show or movie?
Oh, I'd have to say, I think maybe a toss-up. Movie-wise, I'm a Star Wars fan, and I like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's favorites.
Have you seen The Mandalorian?
I have not.
You haven't seen The Mandalorian?
I don't.
With Baby
Is
Yoda?
that I have not seen that yet.
Oh, we'll have to get you on that. That's good.
Is it on DVD yet?
No,
That's why I haven't seen it.
no, it's only on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So
yeah.
and they're giving a free year if you're a Verizon customer. So you can. That's the only way I know about it.
Mhm.
You got it. So you use
See?
your son. You can use Steve's,
Yeah.
login.
Junior's
so,
here today too.
So
Little Steven.
There you go. You get his login and watch The Mandalorian. It's good. So how about TV shows? Any favorite TV shows?
Never. I've worked late nights for so many years that anything that's in prime time and the latest hit series, I never get to see any of them. So the only thing I watch is like reruns years and years later, you know. So I'm watching I Love Lucy and the Carol Burnett show. So
Everybody loves those. So when you work all night, when do you sleep?
in recent years, I go home and stay up till say noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Get the grandson on the bus and get the day started, and then I'll sleep till about 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, that's cool.
So for a number of years, I'd go to bed early, and then you try to get up at 1 or 2, and then you're tired again before you go to work. So I've finally got my schedule adjusted where I was pretty settled in.
So how about now? Are you getting out of that routine, or are you going to just stick with it?
At the moment, I'm pretty much in it. I'm still sleeping all day.
Okay.
And up half the night.
Very good. So let me give everybody a little bit of history. Back, I think it was 2008. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
So when we started off, I was just doing industrial, commercial type of lubricant sales. So I would go into a plant and I would look through what their machinery was and study it for, maybe a couple, 5, 6, 7 hours, and then say, okay, here's what we could do to fix this or to make it work more efficiently. We need to change the weight of the hydraulic fluid, or we need to use a different compressor fluid or something like that. About 2005, Navistar came and asked me if we could come up with a product that would fix a problem they had, which was called stiction. And it was a buildup of burnt oil inside the injectors. And they said it's costing us about $500,000 a month in warranty. When we bring the injectors in, they're fine. They just got all this coked up oil inside, and we can't seem to get rid of it. So I started blending different things. I came up with something that was able to fix the problem 9 times out of 10. So they went on testing this for about 2 more years, which was, maddening because we knew what the solution was, and they just seemed to spend a lot of time not using it. About that time, Ford started making their own engines and sued Navistar. I think they ended up winning $300 million in this lawsuit. So here I am, a guy that doesn't know anything about marketing or websites or anything like that. And we've got this product that we know fixes the problem, 9 times out of 10. I didn't know what to do with it. So I went on forums and I started talking about it, saying, hey, we made this. At the time, it was called Hot Shot Secret. That was before Hot Shot Secret was a brand name. That was just the only product we made. It was like a black and white label. Of course, everybody heckled me and said, you snake oil salespeople, you can't put something in the oil and fix the injector. You're a moron, da-da-da-da. So I said, well, I'm just telling you what happened. So we started selling a few bottles. When I say a few bottles, maybe one every 3 days or 4 days. We started advertising on WLW. And then they had a salesman down there. We used to call him Squirrel. And, because he's... I don't know why. Do you know where you got that name from?
Because he looks kind of like a squirrel a little bit.
So he
just celebrated his 75th birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
He did. Yes.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. So he calls me up. He says, do you want to re-up your advertising contract? I said, man, this doesn't seem to be working. I'm running out of money, and nobody seems to be buying the product. So I said, maybe if you just let me go on the radio and talk about it, we can explain how it works. So I go down, he says, I'll give you 10 minutes on Steve's show. I go down and I am as nervous as you can imagine. I mean, normally I get stage fright anyway. I don't like speaking in front of crowds. It just drives me nuts. People say, just calm down, don't worry about it. That's like saying to somebody that's afraid of snakes, oh, just don't worry about it. He won't bite you. It doesn't work. If you're afraid of snakes, you're just afraid of them.
Right.
If you're afraid of heights, you're just afraid of heights. It's not a logical thing. It's an emotional thing. So I get down there and I'm just as nervous as could be. And, I get into the green room about 11:30 and, Steve gets on at midnight. I'm in there and he talks from midnight till about 12:30. And he's talking about traffic jams in Utah and the weather everywhere, just giving truckers updates. And that's his thing. He goes, and we got the owner of Lubrication Specialties here. They got a product called Hot Shot Secret. And the thing that always amazed me about Steve is he's on the radio, like being on the radio for him is like breathing. It's effortless. I mean, doesn't even seem to try. He just does his thing. So we got the owner of Lubrication Specialties here. They got a product called Hot Shot Secret. We're going to get to him after the break. So we hit a 12:30 break. We come on and he starts asking questions about how we came up with the product, what it does. Started explaining, and I said, hey, if you have questions about oil, I'm an oil guy. I know a lot about lubricants. Feel free to call in. Well, all 8 lines lit up. So we're on the radio, you know, probably till about 2 or 3, and Squirrel's pacing back and forth in the producer's booth. I'm just watching him walk back and
He was
forth.
tired.
Oh my gosh. Finally, he comes in, he opens the door, 2 o'clock, and he says, leave him on until the phones quit ringing, then get rid of him. It's like, okay. So he goes home to go to bed. And we were on all night until 5 a.m.
Yeah,
you know, just people kept calling and asking questions. Now, being a rookie at being up all night, I drank like 2 pots of coffee. So I'm like a squirrel on crack at this point. You know, I'm just like bouncing off the walls. I get back to the hotel and, you know, there's no sleeping. I mean, I'm just wired. So I told my wife, I said, come on, let's go. Let's go get some breakfast or something. I can't, you know, sit still. So we headed out to Bob Evans or something. And I'm calling a buddy of mine. I said, answer the phone in case somebody orders something, and I'm calling them, and it says the Verizon subscriber that you called, their voicemail subscription is filled, their voicemail box is filled up. Oh man, you piece of crap! I asked you to do one thing for me, you don't even do that right. So you know, now we're driving up, and I get up out to Wilmington, and I got my flip phone, you know, so
Right.
I just keep hitting redial. It's like I'm gonna get a hold of you one way or another. So finally, he answers the phone, and I'm like, Lynn, your voicemail box is all full. He says, Mr. G, I've been on the phone all night, and I have not had 1 minute to check it. I'm like, you're kidding me. Holy smokes, we got some orders. Now, this is exciting. So I called home and had my daughter, who was home from college at that point, go over and answer the phones, you know, unforward it, where you push like star 72 and star 73. That's back in the days when we did that kind of thing. And she was taking orders. So by the time I got home, I think we had several hundred orders. And that was all from WLW. Now, just to paint a picture for you folks, you know, this was a 30 by 40 building. There was enough room for like a single car garage where we stored product, and then we had 2 offices and a restroom, and that was it. So, you know, I get there and I probably had about 12 bottles in stock. I did have 12 bottles in stock. So I'm blending product up in the drum, and I have 6 kids. I got all 6 kids out there. We're pumping into bottles, putting labels on. My wife was running back and forth to the printer, getting labels. We're packing things up, running shipping labels, all that from that first show. Now today's the first time that Steve's come up here.
Fascinating. Yeah, from a pole barn to this, that's
Yeah, so we're, for those of you that don't know, we're in a 34,000 square foot building, and we're getting ready to expand onto the manufacturing plant and into the offices, because we're up to about 67 people, 67 employees now. We have a complete line of racing oils. We have, of course, fuel additives, oil additives, you know, an RV line of additives. We also do custom blending for other companies. We do private label for people. We're doing, you know, all sorts of different things that the company's grown into. And, you know, obviously that wasn't all from me. It's from the good people that we have working here, because they're all a lot smarter than I am. But it all started from that show. I mean, it honestly was that night that we went on the air and told people what we had, and it was your listeners on WLW that called in and tried it, and then kept calling in. So every time I'd go down, I'd love hearing all the stories about, man, it fixed my truck. It was running like crap, and now all of a sudden I'm not blowing black smoke, and it's better fuel economy. And well, you've heard the stories too.
absolutely, yeah. We've shared many stories, yeah.
So it's been quite a ride. I mean, it's been exciting. I mean, I still pull in here every day, just in awe. You know, I pull and see LSI on the building. It's like, holy smokes, what a great place. So it's been quite a ride. Now, bringing everybody up to speed, I know a lot of you we're on Facebook, so you must have seen that iHeartRadio has asked Steve to not do the show anymore.
Yeah.
After
June 1st would have been 25 years. I was kind of anticipating a big anniversary next year, but
and you're like a legend in the industry. I mean, everybody knows Steve Sommers. So this was completely unexpected.
had a great show Friday morning. Went home. Grandbaby was being dropped off because we watched the granddaughter every day. And about 8:30 a.m. got a phone call. That's it.
And that was it.
Here I sit today. I haven't had a good week, Chris.
No, it's been a suck week. Yeah, it's a suck week. So I asked Steve to come up and be on Facebook. At least we can get some closure and tell people, you know, what happened and answer any questions that you've got. You know, what would be really cool is if it's some way we can get the show back on the air. So we've got to brainstorm about that and think about how we can get a truck and radio program going on, you know, at midnight to 5 a.m. because this is a legend. And your dad actually started the show.
1984.
Before that,
Yeah.
the Truck and Bozo show.
Correct, yes.
And then they asked him to go.
So he did 20 years, and I was on the verge of being there 15 solo, I guess. 15, 16.
So
The numbers have added up pretty quick.
I know.
But you know, Chris, I've had such a dedicated audience over the years. some nights when, especially a Sunday night, Monday morning, the phones may not be lit up, and you feel like, man, is there anyone out there listening? So, come on, give me a little help here. But I've had an outpouring via social media after departing, which again, no one expected, didn't anticipate it. iHeartMedia's got their own issues going, apparently. So I'd love to have the opportunity to get back into radio. I've got my feelers out, as they say, and that's why we sit here to say hi to the folks, because I never really got to say goodbye to my listeners. That's the one thing I asked my boss. I said, you're going to tell me I don't get to come back and
At least
say farewell or anything like that? Nope. Sorry, but so.
That's not good. I mean, that's the business climate we live in. I don't like that either.
Yeah.
But so your dad started the show, then he went to XM.
He, overnight, 20 years, it got to him physically, his health. He came down with diabetes. He had Addison's disease, I think it was called, which.
That's thyroid, right?
I believe it is. So he said the overnights, I can't do it anymore. And he was looking to retire. Then he found, the XM said, hey, we can give you like a 4 to 7 p.m. slot, which he jumped on that, and he did that for, I guess until he passed away.
Right.
And so 4 to 7, he got to sleep at night. They built a studio in his home, and it was a whole lot easier. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we were on at the same time, but different times a day.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, excellent. And then you took over the show full time when he went to
2004.
And
Yeah.
before that, you were the weekend guy.
Yeah, I was doing 3 nights a week. His health was deteriorating. I was doing like Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and then he would start Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. So.
Did you ever find out how many listeners were listening on the app versus terrestrial radio?
I know that they have the ability to track that, and there were big numbers on the app. I mean, they break it down to like you could have 2,800 people in any given 5 minutes. That's kind of the way they break it down. Gotcha. When it came to ratings at WLW, they give you ratings for Cincinnati,
right?
But they couldn't give you ratings for all those truckers all over the country. So,
well, when I started, we were on XM because I remember getting calls from like Australia and Canada, a place like that. So, how long was it that you guys were on XM before iHeart pulled away?
Boy, I've lost track of time. I'm saying it's probably been 6 or 7 years ago, maybe, that they pulled out.
Okay, that makes sense. I just remember getting emails and things and the orders, and we were kind of fresh into the whole business side of things, so trying to figure out how to get product over to Australia was quite a challenge. We're thinking,
right.
We're calling the FedEx and UPS people. That was me and Levi figuring that out at the time. So, but that's good. Excellent. So you love radio. You love being on the radio. Obviously, your fans love having you on the radio. You got a big following. Is there anything else you ever thought about doing in your life?
Chris, I think the last time you were in the studio with me, I don't know, it's been 7, 8, 9 months ago.
Yeah.
You don't get in very often.
No.
But we were talking, you said, well, what's your aspirations? Where do you want to be 5 years from now or 10 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember what my response was?
On the radio?
I said, I think, when it comes to broadcasting, I've kind of reached, 700 WLW, the 50,000 watt big stick in Cincinnati, Ohio. A legendary station, the nation. I said, I've reached that, and I'm now available on the digital platform. I said, I don't know if there's anywhere further I could really go.
Worldwide. We need to go to a worldwide platform now.
Okay.
We got to think big. Think big.
So Chris is the kind of guy that's always thinking bigger.
I do.
Yeah. I just being taken around this facility and seeing what you've got into. And I asked him a few minutes ago, I said, how can you keep track of all these different things you have going at one time? Because you've got the sporting side, the racing trucks, the racing cars. Yeah. You've got the housing side, the charities in Haiti and other countries around South. You probably you never even talked to me about your charities.
No, I usually try to keep that under my hat, but
okay, well, I just
no, it's all right.
Cat's out of the bag.
Well, recently somebody brought up the fact it was Jake here at work. He said, we're not helping them out by not helping to develop their fundraising efforts. So I said, okay, if you want to start bringing those things to the table and letting people know about what we're doing, that's fine. Just
you know what that says to me, Chris? You're the guy that doesn't want to toot his own horn.
No, I don't.
You do things, you get things done, and.
Well, see, what helps me is the ADHD. So I'm always, I got like a 4-minute attention span. So this is probably the longest I've sat down in a week. So getting 25 things started at once helps. But luckily for me, I've got a really good team of people here. And I know a lot of people watching here are LSI folks. So you've dealt with our customer service people. You've talked to our shipping people. You've seen Kevin. You've seen, obviously, you've seen Kyle and Josh and everybody else. So what's funny as the company grew, bringing people in, when you first start, you have your hand on everything. You micromanage because it's, you're the guy that comes up with it. You have the passion for it. And then as time goes on, you start letting go of pieces. So I let somebody else start shipping orders for me and somebody else doing the invoicing. So then we got to the point where there was kind of a little bit of dysfunction going on. And there was days I wondered, man, how do we even tie our shoes in the morning? And that's when we had like 5 people. So my daughter gave me a book. It was called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. So I'm reading this book, and it's not a big book, but it's like the guy must have had a camera in my office to see all the things I was going through. So I brought it in, I put it in front of everybody, said, okay, this book's going to fix everything we've got. I'm pretty transparent. There's no filter from what I'm told. So we started following what they said to do. And he had a really good point. He said, what happens is you get somebody that's really passionate about what they're doing. In my case, it's oil. And he said, and then all of a sudden you start having other people do invoicing for you or answering calls or doing shipping or, getting stationery. He goes, well, you become like the center of this wheel. So then they're coming to you all day long with questions. And then, after a little while, you have totally lost track of what your passion was for. So now your day is no longer talking about oil and things you love. It's, what kind of font do you want on the stationery and how do you want to do this checking account? And you're dealing with all these things that you're not passionate about. And then you get frustrated and you hate going to work. And then that's usually when a small company sells out to a larger company because it's not fun. So the fellow that wrote this book, his point was to get all those people connecting with each other so that they leave you out of the equation. So I took that to heart and talked to everybody and said, okay, so let's start working on getting this circle out from there. So we went from there where everybody started communicating better. And we started it was a Friday morning, or every morning we'd meet for like 15 minutes and just, what's going on today? Well, I've got somebody ready to buy this product. And then the shipping guy would say, well, we don't have that product, Right. What do we need? He says, well, we don't have bottles. We don't have labels. So I'd look at the graphic card and say, how long will it take to get labels? How long will it take to get bottles? And I tell the other guy, well, don't call that guy back until Friday when we have the product in stock. So just with that 15-minute meeting, we were able to clear up probably 90% of our problems. So we took that and we expanded it to, like a weekly meeting. And then as we got bigger and we had departments, because that was, really just a one-on-one interaction. So then we started having like a marketing department and a sales department, a shipping department. So now, you had to try to figure out how to communicate through somebody else. Like how do I want my shipping department to be? So then they have to spread that. So then that was like a whole nother level of learning. So where I was going with that story is we have developed a really good network of people. I mean, the people that are at LSI are really passionate about what they're doing. They love being here. They love all the aspects of the company. It's not that we don't have rough days and rough weeks. It's just that they just enjoy what they're doing. They love being a part of the family. And that's what we call as a family, because a lot of our customers we consider to be our family also. And they talk to us at trade shows, and when they call in, they act very much like our family. And it just seems like the only way I knew how to manage was, having a large family myself, was just treat it like a family. And it seems to have worked for us so far. The passion, the excitement, the dedication and the hard work follows through everywhere. We try not to leave anything undone. If somebody has a problem, we try to fix it right away. Again, we treat everybody like we want to treat our own brother or our own son, and it seems to have worked for us so far.
Yeah.
So do we have any questions? I don't have anything to look up Facebook with. So normally when Kyle's here, Kyle and Josh, you're like professional Facebook folks. They have their phone open and they're answering questions as they go along.
Chris, I just got a cell phone here a few months ago, so.
I'm still wondering.
It was actually when the COVID broke, and we were all going to be working from home for the first time. Or, of course, I still had to go into the studio, but everyone was going to be working from home. So I had to get a phone because we're going to have to do this.
You did not have a cell phone before that?
I did not.
Not even a flip phone?
The one winter when I got stuck on the way home in minus 4-degree weather and almost died, I got a flip phone, and I think I kept it for 6 months and never used it. So yes, I had to get a phone so we could do, I think it was Teams or something.
Oh, yeah, Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Teams, yeah.
All right, you're making me feel good. I thought I was behind the times on technology, but I'm feeling okay now.
So Steve, got a couple questions for you. Hopefully they can hear me okay. With what you've done in the past, would you do a podcast on YouTube possibly?
I'm open for whatever. I know the future is going to be digitally related, kind of like what we're doing here, right?
It is, and we got also a lot of people just wishing you the best of luck and keep moving
Thank you so
forward, and
much.
they want
Thank
to
you
look
so
forward to
much.
hearing you someplace else again as well.
Everybody keep their ears glued to the social media. Well, I'm only on Facebook. I don't Twitter and I don't Instagram and all that, but
I'm trying to make my way through Facebook myself. Is there any questions or anything that anybody else has?
We had no questions.
Well, that's different. So when we start thinking about a radio program, if there's anything you would do to change it up, if you're going to start fresh, what would a brand new Steve Sommers show look like?
boy, I kind of got settled into a pattern over the years that I thought was working pretty successful. If I could continue that, because it was called a trucking show, and some people would kind of complain that, well, you're not doing enough trucking. Well, you can only talk about oil for so long.
Right.
You can only talk about the hours of service for so many hours per night, and whatever's in the news. So I kind of developed a news magazine. I focused a lot on weather for the guys that are out there, and if there's bad weather, I gave them updates every hour, and I got a lot of compliments over the years on my weather. I'd try to go into industry headlines. I'd scour all the different sources, what's going on today. Now, if something catches their attention and they wanted to call about it, we might stick on a trucking issue for hours.
Right.
If nobody hooks onto it, you got to find something that the people actually want to talk about. So I considered my show almost like a news magazine where we covered almost anything, whatever's going on in the news that people wanted to talk about.
So it would be more like a news magazine, but for the working class guy.
Well, you get a news update at the top of the hour where you get 10 seconds on this, 10 seconds on that, and you don't, it's just a headline.
Right.
Well, I would take that and I'd like to expand and give a whole lot more detail about what was going on with that particular subject more than just a headline.
See, that's what the catch is for radio, because it is a dialogue going back and forth, where with a podcast or even a TV program, there's no way to ask a question, but wait, why didn't you address this? Where on a radio program, you do have the dialogue going back and forth. So there's an opportunity to expand if people are interested in that. So that's probably what the secret to the success of the show was.
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I kind of paved my own path, and
I was always fascinated how quickly, when I would get to the station, Steve's going through all the headlines and he's got 38 papers laid out in front of him with all these different stories going on, and he's got a system to what he's doing. So I just stay out of his way, and just give him a chance to get ready.
Of course, when you'd come in, I wouldn't have to use hardly any of it. I'd maybe try to throw in a funny headline or a DA of the Week nominee or something like that. But
well, that's good to hear. People had a lot of questions. That's good. But normally he had it all laid out, and he would just roll through. This is what's going on in the government, or this is what's going on in Utah, and this is what's happening. The state of Ohio did this today. And I think that's good. I mean, I think that's what the everyday guy wants. I mean, he wants to hear what's going on, then talk about it and vet it out and figure out what the problem is. Yeah. So that's excellent. Sounds like you got a good system.
Plus, the midnight to 5 shift, so many people over the years have said, well, why don't you move up to the daytime? Why don't you do like an afternoon show or something? Yeah. I mean, the overnight trucking market, like when my dad started it in 1984, we developed that audience. And you wouldn't believe there's a lot more people out there working overnights. You can get up at 3 in the morning. You say, where are all these people going out here? The trucks. The freight's moving all night long.
Right.
I think I would stick with my overnight audience because they're the ones that have come to know me and I think like me a little bit over the years. So
I would say so. I mean, just by the calls that were coming in and how many people were
Yeah.
listening, and there was never a lack of interest in what we were talking about. So, they're listening. And, the other thing that was interesting about the overnight show is it comes in shifts. So I think, when we were on from midnight until 2 or 3, we would get one type of call. Then all of a sudden at 3 and 4, we'd start getting a different type of call.
That's the people that are waking up to start a new day.
And farmers, we used to get a lot of farmer calls in. They would give a call in, and maybe they're getting up to milk the cows or something. But the shifts was always interesting how that would roll through.
5-hour show that's longer than pretty much any other day part. I mean, most do a 3-hour show throughout the day, 9 to noon, noon to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9. 5 hours is a long show, as you well know, to fill.
To me, it's the fastest 5 hours of my life, and my life is pretty fast. But I mean, we get on there, it's like, holy smokes, I can't believe it's 4 o'clock already.
Right.
There's only 1 hour left. And
Yep.
it just seemed like it was a very fast pace, especially when especially when they're calling and asking questions, because some of the questions were complicated and it takes a little bit to unfold, especially if it was technical and had to do with, engine oils or gear oils or transmissions. So, it could be like a 5 or 10 minute explanation, which is a really long time on the radio in between commercials, because would they have commercials like every 15 minutes or something like that? Yeah.
Yep.
So I just remember being there and bumping up against the clock. It's like, okay, well, we'll get back to you after this break, Yeah. But that's good. I mean, that's good. We know there's an audience out there, midnight to 5. We just have to find the best way to get to them. So any other ideas on what you would add to the show? Is there anything that was stifling about being on the radio?
Boy, I mean, if people had suggestions, I'd love to hear them. I mean, I have had a lot of people say, "Would you the digital platform?" And I think you have to have that in this day and age.
Yeah, I had another question for you. Did you have a favorite caller that maybe someone
Oh,
called in
now
over
if I
the
tried
years?
to do that,
You're
how
gonna
many callers would you say? I mean, but there were a number of favorite callers. Yeah, I'm not going to give an answer. Somebody trying. He's out there. That's probably Monkey Gouger or something trying to corner me.
Yeah. Is it Monkey Gouger? Who asked it?
Eric.
Jimmy Artis?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But he did love hearing Knucklebuster or Monkey Gouger.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yep. Question for Chris: can FR3 be added to BMW CHF system or Bentleys with mineral spirits?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing in FR3 that would change the chemistry. So what's unique about it is there's no metals in it. So when we're making an oil, when anybody's making an oil, normally it's a combination of metals and oil. So you got, your 5 different base oils. And then when you're looking at like a zinc or a phosphorus, what happens, and just to explain this a little bit more, a lot of engine manufacturers or even oil companies will say, don't add anything to your oil. Well, what they're afraid of is you're going to upset the balance of what's in there. So if you put too much zinc in there, then you're creating an issue for the exhaust system or even the balance of how much phosphorus is in there and that type of thing. But what's unique about what we did with the FR3 is there's no metals in it. It's purely base oils, esters, and then the nanocarbon. So the nanocarbon is good across the board everywhere. It's not a metal, so that makes it easy to use. And then the rest of it is just oil. So it's kind of like making a semi-synthetic, if you will, out of your oil and doing it safely. So it really can be used anywhere. That good enough explanation? Josh,
I think that's working for him. It's one of our regulars, Terry Howard. So he'll chime in if it's not.
Okay. Well, thanks, Terry. Let me know if you need more explanation. I'll talk all day about FR3.
Yep, absolutely.
And then everybody be yelling at me saying, "Just stop already." Yeah. Any other questions, Josh?
Not really. Just lots of positive comments. So
any names you could throw out there to Steve?
Nancy says, not a trucker, but always loved your show, especially the weather reports. I listen to the weather on TV, walk away wondering what the weather's going to be. With you, I'd understand the weather was doing and what was coming. Also, a great explanation of the news as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you.
And I think that's really important, is just getting the explanation of the news out there. Say, this is what's going on. Because I know, if you're doing a news broadcast, you got 30 minutes to get in and out. Or on radio, it's probably 5 minutes. So having 5 hours to unfold something and talk about it, and again, I've seen Steve print out all the pages, so he can get into all the details of it. And then during the break, he's sitting there reading through it, trying to make sure he's got everything.
You call that show prep. You prep. You have a lot more than you'll need, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, you'll start getting to the end of that stack. And I always saved what I didn't use. Had that briefcase full of papers.
Yep.
So I can go back and say, you know what, we didn't get to this, we didn't get to that, and we'll keep on going.
So show prep is the key to it, making
absolutely.
sure that you're prepared.
Yes.
Very good.
Also had a comment from Robert. It said he used to listen to your father when he worked at WNDE Radio in Indianapolis. For
Windy and Indy, he called it. Windy and Indy.
Windy and Indy.
Yes.
Any other ones there, Josh?
Manic says hi. Rodney.
Maniac.
Sorry. Yep, I'm reading through yours.
One of our characters from many. He's retired from trucking now.
Does he come to we missed the trucking show
What
too.
do you think of that? No?
Lots of people missing the show and want to know where they can hear you, and just they said YouTube podcast would be cool, cross-platform podcast, but obviously anything live would be best.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I want to hear you live.
We've got it. Well, we'll just have you come up every Thursday.
There you go.
If we're just a little bit closer to Cincinnati, that'd be a little bit easier. You wouldn't have to go
Yeah,
through
you're a
Columbus
little
traffic.
further from Cincinnati than I thought. I thought you were, like you said, well, you're up by little north of Columbus. Well, we get through Columbus, and I'm looking at the GPS. It's like 42 miles. I said we planned on a 90-minute drive.
That's a little bit north of Columbus. For
A
us.
little north of Columbus.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Going to the grocery store is a 30-minute ordeal. We're just used to driving, a long ways for everything around here.
So is this kind of technically out in the sticks in
Yes,
central
this-
Ohio?
This is out in the sticks. You go anywhere north, it starts to fill up, and then anywhere south. So we're right between Mansfield and Columbus. And just in Morrow County, there's 34,000 people, and it's 250 square miles. So it's just not a very heavily populated place.
Right.
But so I grew up down in the ghetto in downtown Youngstown, so I loved it. When I got to Morrow County, it's like, this is God's country, man. I'm staying here forever. I never want to leave.
Yeah, question for you, Chris. What's the recommended oil change interval for 5W40 Blue Diamond?
Oh, that's an easy question. Believe it or not, you could leave Blue Diamond in there forever as long as you can keep it clean. So the idea would be, when you put oil in a car or truck or anything, it's going to either the oil itself is going to start to wear out, the additives are going to start to deplete, or it's going to get so much dirt in it that it needs to be taken out. So if you just think about, having a bunch of little particles in there scratching things up, well, you don't want that in your car, right? So if you keep it clean, it could last forever in there. The base stock, we use a PAO, which can't be worn out. At least we can't figure out how to wear it out. I have had people that have had that Blue Diamond 5W40 in their semi-truck for 200,000 miles, and we were still getting good oil analysis. So to answer the question more clearly, depending on oil analysis, if I was using Blue Diamond, I do use Blue Diamond, but I would use oil analysis before I changed it. You're looking for the additives to break down, which you can boost up with the TBM booster. As long as it's clean enough, it'll hold up. So it's really can be in there.
I remember this conversation on more than one occasion over the years, Chris. You explained how there's something called shear.
Yep.
And regular oils will shear.
Right.
You get to a full synthetic, there's nothing to shear. Only thing you have to keep in there is what your detergent kind of thing?
Correct. The TBN. The TBN stands for total base number, and that's the amount of detergent that's in there. And as long as it's up to snuff, it works. So today with ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, you really only need maybe 3 to 4 TBN in there. We're starting off with like a 12 TBN. So there's plenty of detergent in there to keep you going. It really will last a long time. We've even talked to a few companies about doing a fill for life on some newer cars. Like they asked the question, can we do a fill for life? It's like, yeah, we could do that. I mean, it's really not, I don't want to say it's not that hard, but it's extremely doable. So if Ford came to me today and said, hey, we want to make 100,000 miles service interval, can you do that? Absolutely. I mean, we could put one of our filters on there, put a PAO synthetic in there, and it would be fine for 100,000 miles. Matter of fact, that oil at 100,000 miles would probably look better than oil pulled out of the same car at just a regular off-the-shelf oil at 5,000 or 10,000 miles.
It's the bypass that's making all the difference, right?
The bypass and the base oil.
And the base.
Yeah, having the base oil, the PAO is, I mean, you could probably break it down if you put it in like an extreme condition, but for just a regular standard engine, you won't be able to wear it out. The molecules are just so, they're so robust. I mean, it's a 12 or 14 carbon chain synthetic oil, so it just takes a lot of work to shear that, to break that bond. It almost can't be done.
Yeah, to just even add on to that, on that Fire Punk S10 we sponsor, they actually just ran their last oil 23 passes before they broke another part inside the engine. So they brought us the sample. We're going to take a look at that and see how. But based on the last oil sample we had, it went like 20 passes, and it was perfectly in shear and grade.
So the idea for those of you that don't watch the show normally, if I'm making like a Walmart oil or like a Shell oil, any oil. If I'm going to make a 5W40 or say a 15W40, I'm going to start with a 20 weight oil, and then I'm going to put VI improvers in it, which are like rubber pellets or little rubber springs. They're called polymers. and that will thicken it up when it gets warmer. So as oil gets, any oil, well, as it gets warmer, it gets thin and runny, right? That just makes common sense. So they put these rubber pellets in there to kind of thicken it up so it doesn't get as thin and as runny. Now, we want to make it so that when it's cold outside, it stays a little bit thin. So they use a pour point suppressant, very similar to the one we would use in our diesel winter anti-gel, and it makes it so that it stays fluid at low temperatures. So what happens over time as you're running it, it shears those little rubber pellets in half, and then in half again, then in half again, and that's what we call oil shear. So anybody that's changed oil, especially in a semi-truck, will know this, because diesel's a lot harder on oil than gas engines. But you put it in there and it's nice and thick and feels good between your fingers. And then, after 10,000 miles or 15,000 miles, you're changing it. And, it feels almost like kerosene or something out of a parts changer. It's like, wow, how's this so thin and, in black and sooty? Well, what's happened is you've sheared it out and you're back down to just the original oil that they started with. And that's what PAOs will not do.
Roger wants to know what products we have for gas engines.
Most of our oils can be used for gas engines, except we haven't got the SN classification form. So what gas engines want, or the manufacturers of those gas engines want, is a little bit less detergent in them. Just literally 5 years ago, most oils would be dual purpose. So our CH4 or CJ4 oil for diesel would also be SN1 or whatever for gas. But then the folks that were making the gas engines wanted you to put less detergent, and it just kind of changed things. But we use them in all of our vehicles. Like everybody here uses Blue Diamond in our gas engines. It's just, I don't know that we have the SN certification yet. They're working on it.
Right, that's in the pipeline. But also we have Gasoline Extreme as well, which is an injector cleaner, one tank cleaner. We do that once every 10,000 miles. If you want to run a different oil, you can use our FR3 as well. And also stiction eliminator as well, with especially vehicles with the turbos on, some of the eco gas vehicles out there today as well.
See, man, he should work here.
On the ball.
Yeah, good job, Josh. So the stiction eliminator could be put in any vehicle, but that would be good for anything that's got a lot of miles. Anything that's got over 100,000 miles, I would use stiction eliminator. You only need, 8 ounces? Just to clean up any carbon deposits, because there's going to be a bunch of them in there. The friction reducer could be used in any gas vehicle. That's going to reduce the friction by 50%, increase your fuel economy by 3 or 4%. The Gasoline Extreme took us, I would say, somewhere between 4 and 6 years. So R&D kept saying, we need a gas additive. We need a gas additive. That's what's the big thing out there. And I was like, not until we can make a gasoline additive that's leaps and bounds better than everything that's out there. And the Chevron Techron is a really good product. So it was a hard mark to beat, but eventually they came up with one that beat it. We were able to get a lot better fuel economy out of it and a lot better cleanliness out of it. So yeah, the Gasoline Extreme is a great buy.
Mark wants to know, he's got a Franz bypass filter on his Duramax. Can he move it over to his 5.3 liter Chevy gas?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's the same filter system. The only thing that changes on all those is the fittings and how you hook it up. So, the base and everything is the same. It's just how do you integrate it into different engines. But way back when, I don't remember, it had to be 98, I had a delivery van. It was a 3/4 ton Dodge, and I put a filter on the transmission and on the engine. And those Dodges at that time were known for having transmission issues. And we never had any. I left the oil in both of them for 100,000 miles. I was hauling tons and tons of oil everywhere in Ohio and Kentucky, and it worked great.
Yeah, Mark, just be sure to call in to us, and we can get you figured out what you need different parts-wise. A lot of that will probably fit the same, since it is a Chevy application onto another Chevy application as well.
Good job. Any other questions there, Josh? We got about 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, put them in.
So, sorry. So, Steve, with trucking being like kind of a always shifting, you've got weather every day, traffic every day. Do you think there's a space where evergreen content for the trucking community can live? Or is it something that, because you're constantly changing, that it's almost like, I know everyone's like, do you want to do a podcast? Do you want to do something that's, more of a simple form? But with everything, how the shifting and trucking happens on a daily regimen, is there even a space where that can live, or what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
What's evergreen?
What is evergreen?
Oh, evergreen means like it lasts forever. So like you could do a piece today and play it a year later, and it would still feel like accurate.
No. I mean, I feel like if I recorded something from noon to 5, it would be kind of outdated from midnight to 5.
Okay, what about the life of a trucker? I mean, they definitely have a different lifestyle from everybody else. So things like when I was driving truck, you know, you're dealing with, you know, physical limitations because you're not out moving a lot. You're eating usually.
Sedentary lifestyle.
The food you're getting.
Lack of good food options.
Right.
I mean, most choices are fast food joints. You know, even at the truck stops. You know, we got a Popeyes, we got a Hardee's, got a Wendy's. Some of them have the what is the Iron Skillet restaurant? You know, where there's still some sit down, but I mean, even that, I don't know. Is that a healthy diet or?
Well, I guess I'm thinking as far as Evergreen, the way he's using it. If you're talking about the lifestyle of a truck driver and the things that they have to do and the coping mechanisms that they come up with, just like the coping mechanisms of a soldier or you know, policemen, they've got their own circle of things that they deal with that the rest of us don't. Truck drivers have their own circle of things they deal with. So if you were talking about that would be an evergreen thing.
It's constantly changing, constantly in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. I mean, we're looking at dramatic change with this talk of autonomous technology. You know, I don't think it's going to be real soon, but some would say it is. It depends on if you ask Elon Musk or if you ask someone that's, you know, trying to compete against him. But I mean, they're making progress pretty fast. The drivers, I mean, there may be more drivers, you know, sitting and sleeping while the truck rolls, and they're just doing the front end and the back end, the last mile sort of things. Right. That's going to be changing.
One of the things that I was talking to one of the guys from Pilot Truck Stop, and he said the trend that they see is trying to get drivers home every night. And he said, so before, you know, you'd pick up a load in Columbus and you might drive it all the way to Bakersfield, California, you know, stopping along the way. He said, so now what they're trying to negotiate or figure out how to do, they're actually doing it. You drive it out to St. Louis, you drop your trailer, you pick up a trailer, you go back to Columbus, and you're home.
Home for the night. And most drivers like that. I mean, the job is to getting you home at night. It's almost impossible to find drivers that are willing to go out there and stay on the road and live in their truck for 3, 4, 5 months.
So, well, that's what he said their motivation was. He said they can't get enough drivers to drive over the road, so they're trying to put the infrastructure in place to swap trailers. And one of the last things I read from the Ohio Trucking Association, tractor sales were down somewhere like 40-50%. Trailer sales were up 300 to 400%. So companies are buying lots of trailers and very few tractors.
Interesting.
So they, you know, I asked the fellow that was giving the report, I said, you know, is that because of this spoke and hub type of thing that they're trying to get more trailers out there where you can keep swapping freight back and forth? He says, I don't know. He said, maybe. He said they've been working on that for years because of the driver shortage. And they're thinking if they could turn it into an 8 or 10 hour a day job, you'll have more people willing to go out and drive truck. As opposed to, you know, I leave on Sunday and I'm home on Friday. So it could be.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll wrap up with our weekly giveaway. This week again was Diesel Winter Rescue and a t-shirt. So be sure to answer our email. And if you comment in, we'll also throw in a sweatshirt as well to the winner. We have 2 this week. The first one is Dan's Min X76 at something.com. And our other one is Lips Comb M52 at something.com. So if you guys comment on, say, I'm here watching, here in the next couple minutes, we'll throw in an extra sweatshirt as well. And we'll be emailing you shortly to get your shirt size and your address.
Well, thank you, Josh. Good job. And Steve, thanks for being on the show.
Can I say thank you so much for the invitation to come up?
Absolutely.
I know you've asked me to come up for the grand opening, the ribbon cutting ceremony, and then a 3rd anniversary or something, open house I think you had, and my first time being here. So Steve, I'm impressed. It's amazing. But
I always wanted you to come up because I really do put this whole road started with your show. And when I would come down there, I try to explain to you, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. I kept trying to say, if you knew where we were and where we're at now, you just wouldn't believe it. It all started that night. I mean, going on the radio all night. From there, it was just a a ride forward. So I always wanted you to come up and see it because I knew if you understood what was happening, you'd be like, holy smokes.
Well, it's a whole lot grander than I anticipated. I mean, I knew you'd grown, but I'm thinking I'm not expecting what I saw out here today. So
it's been
it's
quite an
fascinating,
exciting ride.
and you're planning to grow more.
We are. We're getting plans right now. They're drawing up plans for another 27,000 square foot of warehouse, and we've got the architect drawing plans for new offices because we just can't fit everybody in the building anymore. So it's exciting, and it's again I put it all on that first night, being on the radio all night when I was drinking 2 pots of coffee and wound up like a squirrel on crack. So.
Well, for any listeners or fans that I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to properly about a week ago, this was kind of a chance to do that. Thank you so much for the years of listening. Hopefully, I'll be back on the air. I think the last thing I posted on Facebook said, my grandfather taught me that patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. Patience, my friend, and we'll see where things go.
We'll work on it. It's going to be great. All right. Thank you. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.